Thanks for that introduction, Colleen, and welcome to another podcast episode, everyone. Today on the Dry Face podcast, in recognition of International Women's Day, which is celebrated globally on March 8th, we celebrate, acknowledge, and pay tribute to women in sport in the Caribbean. We also salute all women who have contributed to be stalwarts across industries in Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. Now, interestingly, on our podcast on our website, you can check out other phenomenal women who have been on this podcast and doing a great job in sports in the Caribbean. All right, so in the play of the day, I have with me a young, ambitious, and high achieving woman in sport who has excelled in the field of football as an assistant referee. StephanieDale Yee Sing has officiated in multiple CONCACAF finals. She also featured at the Under 17 World Cup in Jordan in 2016. She was one of the first Caribbean officials, male or female, to feature in a World Cup final at the Under 17 tournament in Uruguay in 2018. Stephanie was among 8 assistant referees and 5 referees representing CONCACAF at the FIFA Women's World Cup in France in 2019, where she featured in the semifinals. Stephanie, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's start with the World Cup. What was that experience like, and what are some of the things you left from that World Cup feeling or with?
Oh, well, first of all, it was amazing. Like I said, feelings from World Cup. Incredible things can happen.
Yeah.
Impossible things or things that you thought were impossible, and dreams. Achieving things that you never thought that you would achieve. You know, you were just having fun, enjoying doing what you love, but then it still took you to heights of new heights.
Yeah. And well, certainly I have never been to a World Cup in no capacity ever. And my producer Roshika, I doubt they'll allow her to go to any. So help us to understand what you saw there that's kind of different from locally, etc. I mean, I just see it on TV, but you're like right there.
Where to start?
It says no things.
A whole lot.
Let's start at the beginning.
It was an eye opener.
The crowd.
Before we even get to the crowd, we're talking about the training facilities, where they host us. We were in a different city from most of the players, even though the players had to travel. We too had to travel via train, via plane, via car, to go all over the place. It was routine to have training every morning, even cryotherapy. I never did that before.
Really?
Going into a room below 0 degrees, like all of that, it was just an amazing experience.
And that was part of your training?
Yeah, it was a part of the whole treatment. We had massages after every training session as well.
Oh, yeah.
We had classroom sessions. It was just different on-field sessions, gym sessions, working with VAR, and to be an VAR yourself, all of that. It was a extremely good experience. As it relates to the games now, well, I can say for my first game, stepping onto the pitch just to warm up was nerve-wracking. Like, my referee was like, "Are you ready?" And I was like, let's do this. So the warm-up alone was nerve-wracking, but then after you get into the game and you start running, like, it's psychological, so you just flip a switch and you get into the game. But going out there, hearing the national anthem from all these countries, Japan, Sweden, you get nervous yourself, and then the crowd, you hear the crowds of people singing, 60,000 people in the stands. That's like, yeah. So it was really amazing.
No, man, and that is good, and certainly, you women, you are trailblazers in this regard, because obviously, not many women right now are in officiating in terms of sport. So what you're doing, whether it's cricket or football, etc.,
right,
you don't find a lot. But let me just ask you though, how did you decide to become a referee? Because it's not something I would do. I mean, I won't even say on here why I wouldn't be a referee, but you're very strong. How did you become a referee or decided to be one?
Well, most people wouldn't venture down that road of refereeing.
Yeah.
How I started was an introduction from my cousin. He's also a FIFA referee, Yee Sing. He came to me. Well, we were talking about football because he knew that I played,
Right.
and he always invited me, but I was like, nah, while I was still at UTech. And I was like, nah. But then he said to me, so what are your plans after football? And I told him that I was just going to start life because, you know, football has done all that it could for me. So that's it. So he asked me if I don't think that I could contribute to the sport in a different capacity. So he asked me to just give it a try. So I was just giving it a try while still playing club football for Barbican Football Club, the women's team. And because we had to do intense training with Barbican and training with referee, both of them together kind of helped build my fitness. So after a while, I just got into it because I was just there having fun, enjoying myself and learning more about a different aspect of football, not just playing but officiating, the rules and everything, you know. And I got good support from the persons within the Spanish Town community because they knew me as a football player before a referee. But then after playing for Barbican while refereeing, I was told to make a choice because my superiors, Mr. Dave Meikle and my developmental instructor at the time, Mark Sullivan, they saw the potential in me to become more than just an ordinary referee.
Yeah, and I must say, don't make no sense you try be official and play the sport at the same time.
Yeah, no, because football comes with injuries. I mean, refereeing comes with injuries as well, but less contact.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right. So you mentioned that you're from the Spanish Town area. So I'm assuming you went to St. Jago, and then you mentioned UTech.
Yes.
What you did at UTech, if you don't mind?
I studied hospitality and tourism management.
Not sports management?
No. That came in after.
But
I studied hospitality and tourism management, and I also did baking technology. So.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Again, you may need to help out my producer with the baking part and anything cooking wise. It's just a suggestion. Tell us about any stressful scenario you've had while being an assistant referee and kind of how you dealt with it, you know, reflecting on that scenario.
Any stressful? There are many stressful.
You said all of them.
All of them. Yes, all of them. The most recent one I could say was participating in the Scotiabank Champions League, CONCACAF Scotiabank Champions League for men. It was my first men's game with CONCACAF. Upon passing the men's fitness test, which is a requirement for women who want to participate, given that you are performing as well as you are physically fit. So, being that it was my first game, and you know the whole COVID situation had happened, we didn't do any games prior to this game. Yes, so there's no local football, and CONCACAF had just resumed their competition, like in November.
Correct.
And this game was like early December. And the warming up was challenging, but the first half was even more challenging. Like the guys were just going, and like I was like, when am I going to get a break? And then I had an offside situation, and I was like, it's a wait and see situation at first. And the player didn't touch the ball, but then something else happened with that same player from the offside position. And I was like, wait, but it's a different interpretation of the offside law. And then I had to go up with the flag, and then everybody was like, what? And I was like, man, I just want a break though. But yeah, it was offside though. And I explained to the referee what type of offside, but it was a delayed call. But the players understood because the player in the position actually came over and asked me like if it was him, and I was like, yeah, and he's like, alright, I understand. And I was like, alright, cool. But at least I got a break, you know.
and that is crucial, isn't it, Stephanie, in terms of just keeping up with the game. So you have to be fit, and you're trying to keep up with the game, and you have to be mindful of all the rules and regulations.
Yes.
You're trying to get it correct, but you're trying to make a quick enough decision. You know, how difficult is that, and how have you found it as you go along?
Oi. Okay.
Because we're harsh on assistant referees and referees,
Oh,
as you know, as fans. So how do you manage to deal with all of those though?
First of all, you have to be open to learning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because if you're not open to learning, like everything is going to come at you really hard. So once you're open to learn and you're open to accepting change and constructive criticism, yes, constructive criticism, things should flow smoothly. It won't always go smoothly, but it should flow like in your favor, because the rules are always changing. Every year we have to do renewals of the laws of the game, with our country confederation, and because it's a FIFA requirement, there are updates to everything. I think even now they may be changing something to the offside rule. I'm not sure, but we'll find out soon.
Have you ever like sat down and say, "Yo, me one of the top in this region, in this country, whether it's male or female"? And take it all in, Stephanie, or you just keep going?
I think I just keep going because I still aim to be one of the best ARs in the world, or assistant referees in the world. That's still one of my aims, and I don't think it will ever change because people are always coming in. New people every year is added to the list, and everything is based on performance. So it's to be consistent and still keep on top of your game.
You don't want to go in the middle?
I never thought about it.
I think you should say to them one day, like, you know what, I've been on the sideline and I've been doing this thing really well. I want to go in the middle now and see how it works out.
Maybe locally, but I think it's too late internationally.
Okay. All right. We'll keep working at it. So you have been doing assistant refereeing for about 7 years now, right? Almost a decade. How has the journey been for you? Looking back, how has everything been for you being an assistant referee?
Well, when you say it like that, 7 years seem like a very long time. Who's counting? But the journey has been good, bad, indifferent. I've cried, I've been happy, I think the best experiences have surpassed the worst that I've had. So I think that's what keeps me going each time. Like, even when I'm training, sometimes when training gets hard, like I would really ask myself, like, me and God would be talking and I'm like, why am I doing this again? Because this is too hard. But then, as I said, the reward is much greater than what I am going through to get there. So.
Amazing. In terms of just that professional development, how have been the support from your male colleagues, whether officials or just people within this circle, whether it's FA, just in general, how has that support been, since people don't always like to see females in male-dominated sports?
From my male colleagues, it's been good, for the most part, more good than bad. Yeah, because when we just started, we got invited to run the fitness test, and when they saw us running, like the trio of us, Odette, myself and Jesset, when they saw us running, they thought that, this test was just too easy for them. So even one time we were doing a fitness test and they gave us the wrong test, but we didn't know and we were still running. It was a men's test, and then in the middle of it now they tried to switch it back to the maybe female referees test, but we completed it. And from there on, the guys respected us because of, I think, mostly our physical ability and then the growth in our knowledge of the game, and then experience came through after that.
And just for the listeners and viewers, is that a regular demand them fail the fitness test. Let me just tell you this. It's regular, the male referees in Jamaica fail the fitness test and cuss. And that's so at one point you had some of them created this like rogue referees association and go ref some game. I don't want Stephanie get in trouble, but me just tell them enough time the man them fail the test. So for the women to be doing so really well and not failing tests is absolutely amazing, and it's really big up to them. I said that. And I'm gonna be very honest, and I said it to you off air that I am one of them who I used to cuss assistant referees to and say them thief. So
Mm-hmm.
if I ever did call you a thief anytime, I apologize for it. I never really mean it. Know that you are here, I'll say.
I was forgiven.
So the March 8th is considered as International Women's Day. It is crucial for certainly for myself. It's crucial for my producer. It's crucial for many of us because we recognize the importance of those women being in the space, being trailblazers. What does that mean for you, if anything? And how do you see your contribution, being an assistant referee, crucial in just advancing women in this space?
I think that having a day set for us to recognize us, it speaks somewhat of strength and emancipation, that we are not just restricted to being in the household, which is what a lot of spectators used to say to us on the sideline.
Right.
Like our ability to push forward mentally, even though physically, like to compete with the men, like it's friendly competition, but like we're like, if you can do it, then we can do it, or at least try to do it.
Yeah.
And if we succeed, then that's great for us, but at least we tried. So I think that women know, like, I think it's just a whole psychological effect. Women are taking charge of their own life and becoming who they want to be, and not what people tell them that they should be.
Yeah. Do you think there's more pressure on you as a woman in refereeing than there is on the male? And there's the part B to that. Do you consciously try to make sure, say, you have to get it right? Because if you don't get it right, they won't cuss and say, boy, you see me telling you, I can't put women in charge. Are you conscious of those kind of comments and help you to try to be a little bit sharper and ensure you get it right?
Yes and no. Should I answer A or B first?
Either one is fine.
Okay. Alright. So I remember a colleague. He said this to me multiple times. He's a male colleague. I told you that we do friendly competition.
Yeah.
So we work hard in training, especially physically. So because we have been doing well, the Jamaican women, Princess Brown, Odette Hamilton, and Jessica and myself, we've been making strides for Jamaica, for CONCACAF, and now at the FIFA level. Like some of the men, they're like, you guys are the top people here, so I'm competing against you guys. They're not even recognizing their male counterparts all the time. They're like, I'm competing against you guys because they say you guys are the best, so I need to get it right. So you have, like, for example, an 8.4. I'm working towards getting an 8.4 or 8.5. That's what he said to me. And I was like, no, because he always said it to the girls, because we're always together. And he's always with us because he wants to know, what is it that we're doing differently? Like, why are we still soaring so high? Or why are we doing so well consistently? So that was good.
Yeah. But I mean, I just often wonder because there are matches here in Jamaica where you'll be watching, and and if something happens, the first thing people pointing out is that because the officiating teams are female and they get it wrong, which oftentimes is us fans not interpreting the rules correctly. Are you ever cognizant of that, or have that in the back of your mind, or you just work with the rules and you just keep working?
Keep working, yes, but in the back of my mind, maybe a little bit. But if you allow it to, get the best of you, then you will lose focus of the whole entire game. If I'm honest, like at first when I started refereeing, that was neither here nor there for me. Like I never even played spectators in mind. But as you get older, it's like it starts to seep in. So that's why it's really mental and psychological to keep the negatives out and just focus on what you're supposed to do on the pitch, because you can't lose sight of that. The minute you lose sight of that, that's where you start probably making some simple mistakes, and you're like, how did I allow this to happen?
So, what are some of the things you work on to get better? Like, you talk about the fitness aspect of it. You talk about the the training, etc. Help us to understand what are some of the things you try to work on. What are the homeworks? You say, okay, I'll keep working at this to get better, so that you remain on top of your game.
Okay, so after every game, whether locally, internationally, we have an assessment by our assessor. We have to, well, we get corrected or get
Right.
critiqued, what we did good, what we can improve on. So usually, I'm a person like this, I take notes. So I always take notes, whether it's good or bad. And I sometimes try to go back over the notes, apply it in training on the field, or if it's something that is theoretical, I go back over that part of the laws of the game, so I don't forget it. And then the situation that happens in reality, I try not to forget it, because those situations are what you don't want to happen again, because it will show that if it happens again, it will probably show that you're not learning. But you need to show them that you are learning and you recognize that you have a problem and you made an effort to fix it.
Have you ever, so I've done some officiating as an umpire, and I made a mistake once. I gave a young man out, and based on the discussion, he really never out, and I felt bad. I felt bad for days because the coach was cussing him. Have you ever made a decision, don't tell me which game, that you later found out was the wrong decision? And how do you deal with stuff like those? How do you internalize it and address it and make sure it don't happen again? Because I'm just going to assume we don't all get things 100% right.
Oh no, we're not perfect.
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect. And I can remember, like, I used to cry about it.
Oh really?
Yes, I used to cry, and I feel terrible. I used to cry, but I stopped crying now. But I still feel terrible, like
Right.
really, really bad. And I would dwell on it for like a week. And then sometimes I'll talk to the instructors about it, and they're like, you need to get over this now. But
Yeah,
I'm
because
like,
it done
"Sir,"
gone.
yeah. And I'm like, sir, I can't believe it happened,
Right.
because it wasn't intentional. But people are human and we do make mistakes. So if people think that we don't feel bad, we do feel bad. But everybody has a different way of processing it. So that was my way of processing it.
Oh, no, I just thought that you guys don't feel bad, and I was like, yo, I made my decision already. The whole of them can go, me no business. But you're saying that for you, internalize, but try to correct it for future.
Yeah, and then with refereeing, it's about image, So on the pitch, like, even if you make a mistake, we have to, like, look
Just keep
past it
going.
and keep going. Because if you allow that to be at the forefront of your head, then you're going to have a terrible game after that.
Right.
So, yeah, we make a mistake and we recognize it's a mistake, but we got to keep moving.
And you can't even make the fans even know,
No.
even a smidget of it, that you make a mistake, because then they're going to be on your case
Right.
right throughout.
There you go.
Alright, so you have been, I hear some good news about this, but you were among 4 Jamaican female match officials who have been shortlisted by FIFA for 2023 in New Zealand, right?
Yeah.
As I said before coming on air, I've been hear some good news, but I just wanted to get from you, how do you feel to be on that shortlist? How do you feel to be someone that they're looking forward to competing at this big stage again?
I feel excited. Feel
Camera
honored.
with you this time. No,
Sure.
I'm friend you from now, so you can take me with you. I've never been to New
Sure.
Zealand, but go ahead. Sorry.
I'm looking forward to it, to be honest. It was always one of my dreams to go to Australia. But it's an exciting feeling to know that your hard work has been recognized and is still being recognized. It's not going to be an easy journey. Is one of my, or part of my mottos I go by, like the journey. Like
Yeah.
everything in life is about a journey. So everywhere you go, it's a journey. So the first part of the journey, going to France, it wasn't easy either. Adapting to new technology, adapting to people, the training programs, because now we have like 3 different training programs. Being a part of this program, because we have to follow with FIFA, with CONCACAF, and we have our own personal and national coaches. Yeah, that's what they call them. So it's all hard and it's taxing on us physically and mentally and psychologically now, given the whole COVID situation, and there's no physical football going on, but we still have to keep training. we still have to be sending in our information. Now they're tracking us via GPS.
Tracking?
Yeah, they've been doing that before, but now they've improved it and given us more technology. So they're investing in us.
So they're checking in terms of what, how long you sleep, how long you're on your feet, how you're moving about, and all of those, and you have to submit those.
Right, the type of training that you're doing, if your heart rate is in excess of what it's supposed to be,
Right.
if you're doing too little work and intensity, how fast you are going, because
No, I'm gonna do this referee thing then, man, for true.
we have to be as fast as the players, or just as,
Right.
yeah.
Because you have to keep up with the game.
Right, which is right. So they do all of those things right now. So we have to do all of that leading up to New Zealand, be compliant, follow the protocols, and of course the laws of the game, the
Right.
theory part of it, how you apply that. It's very important.
So a lot of persons listening this must understand that refereeing is not just about just moving from different point to different point. There's a lot of work that goes into it.
More to it.
Especially at the higher level of all of this.
Right.
So we can't expect someone to just get up because football. I just say, "Oh, no, I want to referee and make it." And could this be one of the challenges that we face locally then, Stephanie, in terms of just getting more people to understand how much work goes into officiating? Probably people just don't realize, and so when them coming at them underestimating it.
I think so. I don't think a lot of persons. I think because we're in Jamaica, we're limited to certain resources or
Right.
knowledge of what's happening on a world scale.
Mhm.
Because a lot of these things I didn't know while being in Jamaica. I got all this exposure and experience when I left the country and had to experience it in another country or on a different platform with different entities, stakeholders, as I say, CONCACAF and FIFA. And we had to catch up. And this is the thing with Jamaica. One of the challenges I had was catching up, because you have German leagues, you have English leagues, you have French leagues, and women's football over there is booming. Right. Even in Africa and in Asia, it's booming. But in Jamaica or in CONCACAF, it's very limited. I mean, the top team in CONCACAF is USA, which is great for CONCACAF.
And Canada is not too bad.
But it limits us as match officials because we don't have that level of competition in this region. So when we go out there, we have to compete twice as hard to keep up with those girls who already have the experience, who already have the resources and the knowledge and everything, because they have it. But then we're coming from here, and they're already here. So we have to work twice as hard to be here and perform just the same. So that was also one of my challenges that I faced personally.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting because obviously to do well, you have others out there who are constantly each year probably tracking they're doing a lot of tracking even way before now, managing their body weight, their mass, their fitness level, etc. Now you have to be trying to do all of that. They're probably them doing it from probably teenage years. So that part of it is interesting. What drives StephanieDale, Yee Sing? What drives you? What keeps you going?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say my faith is one, or the main one that keeps me going, and my passion for football or the sport. I don't know, as Mr. Stewart, our head of refereeing, and I don't think I've ever forgotten it. He said to us one time at a panel meeting that your attitude determines your altitude, and it always stuck with me. And so I just try to keep the faith, keep God in the mix of everything that I do, and being a competitive person, I just like to be the best at everything that I try to do. So if I feel like I'm hesitant, I may not do it, I will be hesitant. But then if I have a little drive, somebody push me to it, and I commit to it, then I'm going to give it the best of me. So I think that is really the drive. Once I commit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the 20, I think it was 2019 or 2020, RJR Sportsman and Sportswoman of the Year award. You were awarded. You got the
Yes.
Chairman's Awards.
Yes.
Well, not you alone, but how did that make you feel? Did you ever expect that Jamaica would be awarding you, recognizing the work that you guys are doing?
Not at all. I was surprised. Like really, 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 really surprised because myself and Princess said she wanted to go because Princess is from St. Elizabeth, so she's never had that experience.
Right.
So she said she wanted to go, and I was like, okay, but I really wasn't feeling it. Even the same day, I was like, Princess, do I have to come? You know. But I went with my mother. I wasn't able to go with my father because he had passed. But we went. Nevertheless, we went to enjoy ourselves and experience what it was like to be at the Sportsman and Woman Awards ceremony. Yeah. Because like in my head I was like, why should we force and go? We're not getting recognized or anything. You know, we're just going there to support. But she said, come man, it's going to be a good experience and we may not be able to go again and experience it. So I was like, okay, let's go. So we went and they're like, everybody was there talking to us and say, you're supposed to sit in a certain section, and I'm like, why? My mother is over there. You know. So we went and we sat there and we were just watching because they said that we're part of sports, so all the athletes and everybody that participate there, they're in one section. So we're there, and then we heard about this Chairman's Award and they said Princess Brown and StephanieDale Yee Sing, and I was like, I saw my face on the screen, I was like so it was just wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let me ask you then, if you don't mind, to tell us your 3 highlights or the best moments while being an official, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the 3 worst ones, whichever one you want to start with first, who want to get from you.
Okay. Let me see. One of my worst moments, I would say. It wasn't worse. It was still good, you know. That situation on my Arnett Gardens,
Okay.
with the offside. I mean, it was still a correct call, but like the whole experience and police having to escort me out of the premises and stuff like that. And you know, thinking that you did something wrong when you didn't. You were just doing your job.
Did you ever feel threatened? Like you need these police, anything can happen to you?
In the moment, that wasn't even in my thought because everybody was like, you didn't hear the people behind you or feel when bigger hit your hand, and I'm like, no, because in that moment it was just focusing on getting the decision right.
Right.
You know, not even thinking about the atmosphere and the people behind me. If should I make this call, should I make no, it was just you're making this call. That's it. You know. Another one was, I think it was Cavaliers versus same Arnett Gardens. Yeah, this one made me feel really bad. It was an offside situation that I did not call, and the game ended 0-1 in favor of Arnett Gardens. So you know that decision caused a goal. So I never forgot that, and especially that type of offside. I still live with that. The third one. Let me see if I can find one internationally possible.
Oh, there's none internationally, just kidding.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like as I said, the good normally
Outweigh the bad.
yes.
Alright, so let's go with 3 great moments for you or highlights since as an assistant referee.
Well, first of all, it was the semi-final of the Women's World Cup. Secondly, it would be doing a final of the Under-17 Women's World Cup.
Right.
And the third one, there's so many. The third one, I don't know. I would say the France-Brazil game.
Okay.
I really like that game. And I think just the
It was a very
performance.
energetic game.
Yeah, it was like two top teams,
Yeah.
two aggressive teams,
Use energetic.
right? Like, trust me, those girls were always at it, especially at the referee.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she had to be like a mommy to them, arguing with them, you know? They're like questioning every decision in Portuguese or in French, and it's a good thing she speaks French,
Right.
you know? So, yeah. But,
So those are three.
yeah.
You know, coming out of that, have you ever felt that your personal space can be invaded, that you are not safe in any situation, whether local or overseas? Have you ever been officiating and worrying, like, what is going to happen after this because the fans are sounding boisterous or anything like that?
Not so much. Maybe a little at some local Premier League games, depending on the situation and the nature of the game. But not so much that I can recall. No.
Okay.
Yeah. Because usually security is there, or if we're going to be in need of assistance, we try to get them alert from before.
From early on.
Yeah.
It's crucial. Your support system, Stephanie, I mean, you've talked about some of the people, head of referees, etc. Who are some of the people out there who are part of your support system, who help to drive you, help to motivate you on a daily basis?
On a daily basis, I would say family.
Yeah.
And some friends, even colleagues,
Okay.
you know, fellow referees, instructors, again. They are like most of the persons. I mean, I still get commendations from the general public,
Right.
you know, friends from high school, all over the place, but like there's some close-knitted friends who I've played with, you know, they're always checking for me. Even my former coach, Charlie Edwards, you know, he's always asking if I'm alright, if I'm comfortable, because like I said, when I had to make a choice, Mr. Mika also went to Mr. Edwards and told him that, listen, she has a whole heap of potential and she's going to have to make a choice. And they told him that they were going to take me from him. You know, she would no longer be playing for Barbican.
And Barbican is like the top team in Jamaica by far.
So, yeah, it's good to have all of those people always supporting you and pushing you, encouraging you, and ensuring that you are okay mentally and physically. Even after a game, he would call me some of the times and say, you know, are you okay? Did everything work out alright? And such. So.
What advice would you give to youngsters who are trying to become officials, whether it's referees or assistant referees? What advice would, imagine you're talking to a young Stephanie, or you know, just a young kid who comes up and says, I want to be an assistant referee. What advice would you have for them?
Ensure that you love it. Ensure that I love the sport. And really, I would say somewhat go with the flow, but exercise your passion in a sense where don't be too hard and fast, because most of my colleagues, after speaking to them, like, they just started refereeing as a hobby.
Right.
You know, even the ones internationally.
Oh, okay.
A fellow colleague that was recognized for working, Katie Nesbitt, she's a US referee. She worked in the MLS final, and she also worked in the CONCACAF, the same CONCACAF league that I officiated in. She did the final with another male counterpart. And what she said when she started was that she started as on a side job while going to school. So she never expected to reach that far in it as well. So just like do your best at it. Do your best at it. If you're committing to it, do your best at it always. Irrespective of how things may look in the know. I mean, you can always surpass your own expectations. But once you do your best at it and you think positively about it, the sky is the limit. Like, just see where it takes you. So that's what I think I mean when I say go with the flow.
Right.
Like, appreciate some of the waves that carry you. They might carry you where you want them to go, but they will carry you surpassing your expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as an official, no. I'm sure there are others that you look up to. Which officials you look up to that kind of inspire? Like, I like how those people work. Not necessarily I want to be like them, but that's how I want to keep everything. That's how I want to keep it going. Who are the officials you look up to, if there is any?
Well, I was really excited to meet Bibiana Steinhaus
Really?
from Germany, yeah, because she was the first woman to referee in Bundesliga.
Right.
Right. And then Sean Massey, who works in the English Premier League as an assistant referee. So going to France and meeting them like for the first time, because that's where I actually met them. It was an amazing experience to not only know of them and see them on TV, but I'm working alongside them. We're in the same training session. I'm like, yeah. So that was really good.
When you went there, and this wasn't even one of the questions I thought of initially, but do you find that as a Jamaican, people gravitate towards you more, or people gravitate towards you because these are officials from Jamaica? We haven't had a lot of officials from Jamaica, female or male, and do you find that happens a lot?
At first, yeah, and I think still do. Like when persons see me going out to training, like on the road, they would shout me, and sometimes I don't know them, but my apologies, I don't know them. But
that's fine.
But it's good that people will look out for you on the road, even though you don't know them. It's really appreciated. Even going to train, a gentleman saw me and said, "Your name is Yee Sing?" I'm like, "Yes," and he said that your father or your grandfather used to drive a truck, and I'm like, "Yes," stuff like that. And I was like, "Oh, I know them." I was like, "Wow, okay," So it's good that people recognize you, your quality, and they will still look out for you. Like good people are still out there.
And what's next for you? I know you're looking forward to New Zealand. After that, or just in terms of your journey, what are some of the goals you're setting for yourself moving forward?
Well, for now, I concentrate on being and trying to remain consistent as one of the best assistant referees in the world. Like always trying to improve my performance and learn more about this changing game, physically and mentally. In the long term, though, I really would like to give back again, but in the capacity of maybe an instructor or an assessor or something in development, like help others to become or experience what I've experienced. I shouldn't be the only person that has this opportunity, and I really have to say thanks to the persons who are our support system at the JFF. Mr. Leaka, Mr. Stewart, Mr. Prendergast, Mr. Sullivan, all of them, the physical instructors. Like they put in a great deal of work, and then when we go off to CONCACAF, it's a great team there and FIFA, because they are now opening the doors for women to officiate in men's game. Because a colleague of mine just went to the Club World Cup in Qatar, and she got to officiate a game, her and her team. So like they're putting women out there, just as long as we can keep up physically, mentally, and we are just as good or even better than the men.
No, well, listen, I have no problem in saying that a colleague of mine from Trinidad usually said the future of sport is women, and I generally believe that, meaning that I think if we get more women involved in sports, we will have better officiating, we will have better administration, we'll have a better running of sport, because the male ego is just too big sometimes, and that's what messes us up. And even with some of the games that I watch you guys officiating, you can see that there's a general belief from the fans that Ona do a good job. Initially, I know locally there was this thing that we don't need woman officiate man game, them can't manage the man them, and that's why the game are mash up and are rubbish, etc., etc. I think a lot of that is just embedded in patriarchy and males believing say we alone control sport. I think that some of that is changing now. I must say though that I still believe in general some males generally don't feel you must have women talking to them and telling them what to do. That's part of the problem. But I think the culture itself is changing a bit, and it's great that your superiors are kind of pushing you guys in this direction. And I kind of want to see more young girls coming up in it, to be honest with you, because I just feel say women are always going to try to make the right decision and don't try to prove a point.
Right.
You know, that's
It's
just
not
how I
about
feel.
ego.
Yeah, I feel the male referees sometimes, it's not just me, don't agree. I just feel like some of the male referee them, it is about them. They want to show them a bad man and nobody can talk to them. And I think that's where the difference is. The female referees want to command the space, but command it as being we're officials, you need to respect us, and we're making the best decision.
Right.
And that's where I see the difference, and probably that's why there's a bigger push, not bigger push, there's a push so much to get you guys at the highest level, because the people from JFF or your superiors actually see that, I want to the next stars of this thing.
I mean, you have a valid point, because even when we were at the World Cup, we got commended, the women, because of our short time practicing and using VAR in preparation for the World Cup. The men in 2018, like going to Russia, they had a whole year, to still try and catch on.
Yeah.
And then we had like 4 or 5 months, and we still did just as great as the men. So we got great commendations from our bosses over there, from FIFA, about our performance and our ability to adapt and grasp all that knowledge and apply it like smoothly.
As we're kind of closing up, tell me about your colleagues, the other female officials who you have been working with, what it's been like coming through this journey with them, as you've talked about your mantra, this is a journey. How has it been? How do you guys work together? How do you guys motivate? Help us to understand them, as you're their representative here now.
My other colleagues, like, it's just a small cadre of us. I could say that when I just started, I did get assistance, especially from Cardella Samuels. I kind of looked up to her as well, being not the first, but like she's the first woman I knew.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't always get along because I used to play and I didn't like her calls. So, but like, I really respect her and looked up to her, and she did a great deal in supporting me and encouraging me, like teaching me the ins and outs of football. Even got the chance to travel with her, and she even taught me at that level as well, helped prepare me for when I did go to the CONCACAF level and the FIFA level. And also Stacey and Gracie, who was like one of the top girls of her time, having to compete with her to be one of the greats, I would say, like as a woman. And working alongside with Princess Brown, like she was like my sister through the whole journey. Like she had to, like from the FIFA level, she had to teach me everything, because she would have gone to a World Cup before or two. So she had to show me the ropes, and I really appreciated that about her, and I was grateful for that. But the other two that started my journey with me, Jessette and Odette, they are now, I would say, on this new journey. So we've been training together for a while. But since I've started, we've been training together, and we're still training together. We've had our differences. I mean, no family is perfect.
No.
And we will always argue. We will always have our differences. But again, the good outweighs the bad. And we all have an aim, goal, objective, which is to get to New Zealand, Australia 2023. So right now we're all trying to work together to make that journey and dream a possibility for all of us.
Yeah. I mean, when you talk about family have their different issues, it's the reason why I probably need a new producer, right, for this podcast. I've been saying it now for 2 years. As an engineer, I need a new producer. Right, and please don't edit out this part. The people need to know that I need a brand new producer for the show, so that this show can grow. Thank you very much, sir. Listen, StephanieDale, Yee Sing, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast. In fact, Rashika Grant, the producer, was the one who was adamant that you need to be the guest for this International Women's Day feature. She believes that the work that you have been doing has been so phenomenal that we need to have you on this feature, that we can highlight it and have more people kind of just understanding a little bit more about you and the work that you and your team have been doing. So really appreciate it. And yeah, you can big up the producer. But if you want to produce the show, I can make you produce the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It was my pleasure.
No man, awesome. So on behalf of the entire production team, producer Roshika Grant, the entire team, thank you very much for joining us on this episode of the Dry Face podcast. Let us know what you think about this episode. You can feel free to send your feedback. You can like us on social media. On Twitter, we are the Dry Face GA. Instagram, we are the Dry Face. So is Facebook. And you can check out our website. It is thedrivephase.com. On any of the podcast platforms, whether it is Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, any one of those, you can find us there. And please leave a ratings and share with your friends so that they too can learn about the show and learn more about StephanieDale, Yee Sing, and all the fantastic women who have been doing a great job in sports.